We are from KPI Solutions. In summary, what we are BEE and transformation consultants. So I'm a BEE consultant. Okay, we deal with corporates all over South Africa, mainly obviously in Nelson Mandela Bay. We've got clients that are mainly in the automotive sector, but not limited to the automotive sector. And what we do is we obviously assist them in achieving their BEE goals. We assist them with achieving the level that they require. And in that, what I want to talk to you guys today is how can we use BEE as an NPO, as an NGO? What are the opportunities? How can we use BEE as a tool to source funding for our operations that we are doing? Okay. So what we're going to talk about obviously is how BEE works quickly for us as an organization, why it matters, and what are the opportunities specifically for us. So, sorry. So just quickly, in terms of our own compliance, okay, a lot of companies will ask you as an NPO or NGO, do you have your own BEE certificate? Okay, so how does BEE work for you firstly? So as an NPO or as an NGO, you are termed a specialized entity. A specialized entity is an entity that does not have a shareholder. You are not a PTY or CC. You are an NPO or PBO or NGO. Okay? So you do not have necessarily shareholders. So that is called, in terms of BEE, a specialized entity. And specialized entities, depending on the size of your business, depending on, when I say size, depending on the turnover of the business, you would use either an affidavit or a certificate. Okay? So for entities that have funding of less than 10 million rand a year, you would use an affidavit. That affidavit, you must please remember, it's for a specialized entity. You do not use the same affidavit as what a PTY Limited uses, and that's a common mistake. You use a specialized affidavit, and that affidavit talks to what is your percentage of black beneficiaries. Okay, so who does your organization benefit? And depending on the percentage of black beneficiaries, that is the BEE level that you would achieve. So for example, if your entity assists more than 51% black-owned beneficiaries, automatically, and your turnover is, your income, what you receive is less than 10 million rand, you will automatically receive a level 2 via the BEE affidavit. Okay? And that would serve as your BEE certificate in essence. So what happens now if my turnover or my income is more than 10 million rand? So then there's another affidavit that talks to something called a QSE, a qualifying small enterprise, which is entities with a turnover or income with donor received of between 10 and 50 million. And if your beneficiaries are 51% or more, you receive a level 2. If it's more than 75% black, you actually receive a level 1, all via the affidavit. Okay, so you download the affidavit, you can Google it, it's available on the DTI's website. You search affidavit for specialized entities. You are a specialized entity, you are not a normal for-profit company, okay, and that is a key difference. And the affidavit that you download would be based on the turnover, or like I said, turnover, I keep on talking about business, but on your income received. If your income is 0 to 10 million, You are an EME or an exempt micro entity. If your income is between 10 and 50 million, you're a QSE, a qualifying small enterprise. You also get to use an affidavit. Once your income goes over 50 million, then the affidavits are no longer an option to you. Then now you need to go and get measured by a SANAS accredited verification agency. Now you need a BEE certificate. Once you go over 50 million, irrespective of your beneficiaries, you need the BEE certificate. So we need to understand this, because one of the things Jonas asked us to is, we need to equip ourselves that we are professional when we are approaching donors, when we are approaching companies. We know we have got all our ducks in a row. We do not and ah, because we have literally this time in front of you as a donor, and we want to make it count. We want to see that we have researched, we have everything in order. So in terms of our own compliance, one of the things donors do look at is, do you have your own BEE certificate? So it's important to know that most likely if our income is less than 50 million rand, we're going to have an affidavit. Only in the case of it being over 50 million rand are we going to use a certificate. Okay? So we're just touching a little bit quickly on our own compliance, and from there now we actually want to talk now about what I know what everybody wants to hear a bit more about is, what are the opportunities? How do we gear ourselves? So obviously we know in the BEE space there is companies that your BEE scorecard is based on points, all right? And there are 5 different elements to the scorecard. Ownership, who is the black shareholders, management control, what does the staff look like of the business. Then there's skills development, which is obviously training and upliftment of staff, and does not have to be only staff and just of people. Socio-economic development, which is where most of us fit within, but also enterprise and supply development, which is something that I want us to consider. So when I'm talking, we're obviously going to think about our own enterprise and how do we fit within this. I am a firm believer that BEE, the solutions for BEE should be championed by non-profit organizations and NPOs, not by private companies. Okay, let's just start there. Right? You guys are doing the work. Why do we need this middleman to basically facilitate, just to take, all he's going to do is steer you in the direction of what you guys are already doing. I believe that the work that you are doing is very much aligned to socioeconomic development and aligned in some instances to enterprise development. Right? So when we talk about socioeconomic development is social, it is our children's homes, it is our soup kitchens and our clinics. The gentleman who was talking before this from the Wind Farm Trust, where we deal with BEE, they deal with economic development. So we have broad-based economic development, they have economic development. It's quite similar. CSI fits within socio-economic development. Enterprise development, what's the key difference between enterprise development and socio-economic development? The key difference is enterprise development, the assistance, the beneficiary is a business. Okay? That business is either a CC or PTY or even a sole proprietor. I mean, down the road here, Masifunda has quite a good thing going where they've got an incubator. And there's quite a lot of this happening in your non-profits. There are business opportunities. There are even sole proprietors that are doing work that you are assisting. That, in its essence, is enterprise development. So what we are saying is, you are the champion of BEE. You are the champion of this. You should be the facilitator of enterprise and for socio-economic development. Companies should come and say, okay, what is it that you are doing? You talk about your values, you obviously talk about what it is specifically your enterprise is doing, and then what we should do is, how do we align that to BEE? We don't start with BEE and make it work and make it tick the box. We start with what you are already doing and say, okay, we're going to just use BEE as a by the way tool. right? We, as a company, we are fairly small. We manage about 50 entities. We manage their BEE. A lot of those entities are quite small. They don't fall part necessarily of those 100 companies that funding 80% of the companies. We deal with the smaller companies, the companies that really are here in PE, that do say, okay, KPI, my budget is only 50,000 Rand for socioeconomic development, what can we do? And we say, okay, these are the companies that we have visited, these are the NPOs that we have visited, we have vetted them, we know that they are there, they are operating, they are sound. You can go to these entities and you can go and view them. Mostly your smaller companies don't really do that. Your smaller companies just say, okay, give me options, let me Google them, yes, it looks fine, okay, I'm going to make this contribution to them. What is the absolute most important thing from our side? Your documentation, okay? There are certain things, if you're going to claim socioeconomic development, what are the main things we need? We need to be non-profit. You issue a Section 18A certificate. You have a acknowledgement letter. Thank you. I have received X amount from this company on this day. This is what we use the funds for. Receiving that documentation within a day or within let's say that within 2 or 3 days of receiving the funds, getting that documentation, that is what makes you look, that's what makes you look professional. That's what saying, you go, each year I have no problems giving to this company, to this organization. I'm going to go back here and I have no problem going back here because obviously I get my BEE points and I had my documents. I didn't have to ask for it. The worst thing in the world is I've given you, even if it's a 10,000 Rand I've given you, I need to follow up with you. There's a thing where, after you get the money, you take your time to give documents, but before the time, you're quick to give proposals and you're quick to give, but we need to make sure that, because each year, BEE is measured on a financial year at a time. I know I'm all over the place, guys, but I'm just giving you some, okay? BEE is measured on a financial year at a time. So each year, depending on that company is going to need BEE and going to need to have that spend within their financial year. So if this year you've gotten funds and they struggled with you this year, good luck next year. Right? So that's why we need to ensure before the time, I've got a letter, this is my letter addresses the date, I've received this from who, when, whatever you used it for, and I got this to this people, I got the Section 18, I got this whole pack to you within 2 or 3 days, and it was a pleasure working with you. That is where you'll see a lot of people coming back to us, okay? So I just did some general requirements, what it is to be a BEE champion. I want each and every one of you to be a BEE champion for whatever it is that your organization does. Okay? Whether it's only for social, if you've got some incubation, if you've got some business people that are helping you, if you've got sole proprietors that are benefiting from you, we can set that up in a way to make it fit within enterprise development. To make it fit, most of you fit within social development, but I want you to also consider there are social aspects for business people here, for entrepreneurs that also within your values or system that you're doing that can also actually benefit. And if we set that up correctly, we're not changing what you are doing, you are already doing the work. Let us just set this up correctly so that you can go to your donor and you can go to I feel that you guys should make relationships with BEE consultants, with verification agencies also, because this is where the companies go to ask, not your big corporates, your listed companies that are where 80% of the funds are coming from, but your smaller companies, there are SMMEs here in PE who are funding quite a lot of companies that quite a lot of your non-profits that are not part of these big statistics, but these are the entities that are keeping the lights on, keeping things going. And what do they need from you? They need to ensure that if they come to you, my documents are in order, everything is set up, and I don't have any problem to actually, and I'll share the screen with you. I don't have to go into detail with it, but The specific thing that I wanted to talk about was how do we expect to attract corporate funding, okay? So we obviously look at who are our sponsors, we build our relationships. Key thing, our relationships in the BEE space is with your BEE consultants. You look at who your consultants are, you set up meetings with them, you do your pitch to them, because they are the ones like us that have the 50, 60, 100 different clients within us, and we sit in the rooms with those clients and we help them decide who to donate to, okay? Clearly, obviously articulate and what your goals are and see what you can offer in return to that. You know, you go to a lot of schools and you drive past that school and you'll see they're sponsored by, and there's a big board there of that company there. Offer that to them. That school that donation to that school could have been a BEE donation, but also that company is benefiting from driving past and seeing their name on the board there. So think about how can we incorporate all of this in the one contribution that they can make. You can actually make a plan to say that for this funds, you're going to get your BEE points, you're going to get a Section 18A certificate, and you're going to get some marketing and branding for your company, and it's going to be a smooth process, right? Because you have done your homework, you've sat with a consultant like us, we helped you with your documentation, we helped you to say this is what you are doing, this is what you need to do documents-wise, and each time you get a contribution, you just put the figures and the dates in there, and you get that out as soon as you can. And that seamlessness is what's going to have companies coming back to you. That seamlessness is what's going to have consultants like me come back to you as an organization to ask our clients, to ask other clients to contribute towards you, right? And absolutely important, show us after you've received your funds. Be in contact, give us a report. Don't just give us one letter after we've given you 10,000 Rand. Have us be part of your monthly emails, updating us on what's going on. Out of sight, out of mind, right? Keep us on your mail list. We want to know what's going on, because each company has a different time when they sit together with their budget and they choose who their funds are going to go to, and that's the time when you want to be in their mind. And that time is, we've seen reports, we've seen that you are clearly articulating and you're giving us a report. There's an actual measurable change that you are doing to the warmer or to whichever community that you are in. And so that when we sit in those board meetings and we're deciding who we're going to use this year, who are we going to go to or team up with, I've actually seen quite good work happen from, just using Masifunde. Not that you guys don't do good work, obviously, but just using you guys as an example. I get almost monthly updates on what's happening from the center, and even though it's always in my mind, and when we sit with clients, just have a look here. Look at the things that are actually happening. There's like a little oasis happening in the middle of nowhere here that I don't know if you even knew about, but come, let's go and have a look, actually go and see what would happen with your funds. And that's how we build relationships. It's not all doom and gloom. It's really not all doom and gloom. There are lots of companies that we deal with that, irrespective if whether the company wants to or not, BEE is here. I have the view of, BEE, it is a grudge purchase for a lot of companies, but it is a purchase, it is a thing that they are doing, and there are people that are benefiting. And it's up to me to make sure that those funds are going into the right hands to basically assist our community, right? And at the end of the day, if companies are spending on skills development, on enterprise, on social development, even if it's a grudge purchase or not, they are spending it, and there are people benefiting, and we are making sure that those funds are ending up in the right hands, and there are really people that are actually benefiting here. All right, so from here, we're going to look at our own entity. What is it that we are doing? What is my IP? What is my unique selling proposition as an NGO? What is it that we do? Now, how does this fit in within the BEE scope? Is it social? Is it skills? Is it enterprise? Let me package my documentation that before the time already I'm ready. If I receive funds for this, I'll fill out these documents, I'll be able to give it to this client, to this donor, and I'll have a seamless transaction with this donor that they'll be happy to come back to me with. And of course, our networking with our, like I said, consider the consultants, the verification agencies to network with, because those are the accountants, those are the guys that have the bulk customers, the bulk network, right? So yeah, if there's any questions, obviously we will chat about it during our panel discussion. But thank you very much, guys.
Mr. Aadil, thank you very, very much for sitting down with us. Really enjoyed your presentation there and your insights on how non-profit organizations can leverage the B-BBEE sector. I've just got a few questions that I'd like your insights on, right? And I want to start with this. What practical advice do you have for non-profits to increase their impact and effectiveness?
So from my side, which plays mainly within the BEE space, I feel that documentation and compliance is quite important. There are thousands of NGOs and NPOs out there all doing good work. But what we see from our side is a lack of clear, concise documentation which talks to what our BEE requirements are. Those documentation is evidence documentation of what we've been doing and compliance as that you are a qualifying beneficiary for these funds. Those are the two things, just from our point of view as a consultant. That's not necessarily on the ground seeing the work being done, but we are sitting in those boardrooms talking to those clients. Those are the things, those are the two aspects that I feel that can be very much improved on from a non-profit side.
What do you see in the industry in terms of documentation or compliance that rubs you up the wrong way? I can see your face now. Like, what do you think?
So what we see is there are lots of proposals. There are, we need funding. This is what we are doing. Please fund us. Okay. We will go in. Usually what we do is once we receive those, we make an appointment, we go and see the operation, make sure that things are happening really as they say they are. And then funding is then approved and received. After funding is approved and received, then there's no communication until we make communication with you. Hey, I need these documents from you, please. And us keep on having to follow up for this documentation. I mean, like I said, unfortunately, we are not on the ground doing the actual work. We are in the boardrooms, in the offices, and yes, of course, we make sure that the work gets done, but remember the reason we have selected you, we have chosen with you is that you are compliant and that this contribution towards you as an NPO will benefit this company's BEE points, okay? And what we need for that is after that contribution, you need to have your documentation in terms of acknowledgement letters, enterprise development agreements, independent reports. Those documentation comes only after you've received the funds. And what we're seeing a little bit too much is after receiving the funds, those companies take those funds and they run with their projects, but they forget to do the BEE pack that is so much needed from our side for that donor to claim that points. They didn't do it only for the points, but it was one of the factors, right? And unfortunately, that leads to that donor possibly considering somebody else because of that part of the aspect. That's what we want to see improved.